Lesson 43, Part 3 is using proportions. We're just taking what we learned in the previous lesson and using that knowledge to help us solve a problem. So yesterday's lesson, you all told me was easy, huh? And so now we're going to go ahead and add to this, and I think you'll find this also easy. So go ahead and get your notes ready. Push play when you're ready to begin. So in this lesson, we're looking at what numbers would make these two ratios proportional. And this is a we do, so go ahead and copy this down. So I have the ratio 1 to 3 and the ratio 4 to some unknown number x. And in the previous lesson, what we learned is that one of the ways to see if something is in proportion is to multiply the crosses. Well, we can use this, and we've used this before in a previous lesson. We can use this knowledge to solve what x is. So let's go ahead and do that. So I can do 3 times 4 is 12. And 1 times x is x. After that, I just need to get x by itself. Well, in this one it already is, so I'm done there. So in order for this ratio to be in proportion to this ratio, x is going to have to equal 12. You can check it by doing this. What number would I have to multiply 1 by in order to get him to a 4? I'd have to multiply him by a 4. If I multiply 3 by a 4, will it give me 12? Yes, it will. So these are in proportion to each other. You're taking pieces of knowledge that we've been working on, like reducing fractions, equivalent fractions. All those pieces of information are closely tied together. It's all the same thing all the way across. And so this is another piece of it. Let's do one more we do. We have 2 to 5 ratio, and it is what number would we put for x that would make the 2 to 5 ratio in proportion with the x to 20 ratio? What number would have to be here? And so there's a couple approaches we can take. The one that I've been working on with you on this one and that I would use on this one is multiply the crosses. So I would go ahead and multiply 5 times x, which is 5x, and 2 times 20, which is 40. And now from here, I just use my knowledge of one-step equations. I have my ocean, my variable, multiply is happening, so I'm going to undo that by dividing. Divide, divide. If you do one thing to one side, then you do it to the other. And 5 fits into 40 8 times. And so this would have to be an 8. You can check that real quick. What number would I have to multiply 2 by in order to get him to equal 8? I would multiply him by a 4. And if I multiply 5 times 4, do I get 20? Yes, ding, 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 ding. Yes, I do. So I know that's in proportion. How about if you try it? Let's have you try it. So what number would x need to be in order for these two ratios, 2 to 3 ratio, and this ratio, x to a 9 ratio, in order for these two ratios to be in proportion to each other? Go ahead and pause the video, solve it, and push play when you have an answer. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and multiply my crosses. 3 times x is 3x, and 2 times 9 is 18. Then I just need to get my variable by itself. Here's my ocean, here's my variable. That's a multiply by 3, so I'm going to divide by 3. Divide, divide. And x equals 3, and it goes into 18 6 times, because 6 times 3 is 18. Quick little check over here. And actually, a few of you might have just solved it this way. We're saying that that's a 6. Some of you might have just looked at the 3 and said, 3 times 3 is what gives me 9, so 2 times 3 is going to be 6. And that you can do that. I mean, if you see it that way right away, then do that. It's easy too. But we went ahead and did the 6. So 2 times 3 will give me 6, and 3 times 3 does give me 9. So you're doing the same thing to both parts of the ratio. All right, you do number 2. Go ahead and figure out what x needs to be in order for these two ratios to be in proportion. push pause, and then push play when you have an answer. Okay, so I guess you have an answer, so let's go ahead and see what it is. We have 12 times 2, which is 24, and 8 times x, which is going to be 8x. And if they're in proportion, they have to equal one another, so we'll put the equal sign. Now I do my linear equation. Here's my ocean, here's my variable. Multiply is going on, so I'm going to divide the 8 away, and I must do that to both sides. And 8 fits into 24 3 times. You want to check and see, you want to prove it. Let's see. This time 8 is becoming smaller to the 2, so instead of multiply it would be divide. So what do I divide 8 by in order to get him to a 2? I would divide him by a 4. And if I divide 12 by 4, do I get 3? Yes, I do, because 3 times 4 is 12. 2 times 4 is 8, right? Division and multiplication are same, just wrong direction type things. So, yeah, x is 3, which should have been the answer you got. Hopefully that's what you got. I think we've done stuff like this before, so I'm sure that this is all coming together for you really nicely. If you're ready for the closure, go ahead and go get it. If you need to review any of this and rewind it to any point, go ahead. And if you're still needing extra explanation, feel free to come see me.